In this video, we're going to show you how to install rear shocks on your INFINITI G37 X, located on the rear suspension. Using a 21mm socket, loosen and remove your lug nuts. Now on our particular vehicle, we have a locking lug nut here. We're going to use our key to remove that. If you have a standard lug nut, simply remove it. Once your lug nuts are removed, remove the wheel and set it aside. On the back side of our suspension here, we're going to go ahead and use our pole jack. This is where you want to use your regular floor jack after you already have the vehicle supported on your jack stands. And we're going to lift this up. Now we're not going to raise the vehicle. We're going to slightly compress the suspension, just a little bit. Now we're going to go ahead and come up to our bolt on the bottom of the shock. We're going to use a 17mm swivel socket with our impact gun. We want to go ahead, loosen and remove this bolt. You can see this bolt is stuck a little bit here. So we're going to go ahead and raise our suspension here until we can go ahead and slide that bolt out nice and easy. Here we go. Now we're going to go ahead and lower our pole jack. And we're just going to do this so we can get this out of the way. And now we're going to move to the upper portion of that shock. If we follow the shock upward into the shock tower up here, we have the upper bearing plate, and there's going to be two 12mm nuts. Now we did go ahead and spray those down with some rust penetrant, and if you can go ahead and squeeze a power tool up into this. But we're going to go ahead and use our wobble head extension with our socket. Just using basic hand tools here, you can go ahead and take care of this. Now before this nut comes off completely, I'm going to go ahead and break that back one free as well. We'll have some stability from that existing stud and nut combo holding that. Now we will be reusing this hardware, so we had to remove that and set that aside. Now when you're removing the second nut, hold on to the shock unit itself, because once that nut comes off, that shock is going to drop down. And go ahead and slide that out of the vehicle. Now on the top portion of our shock assembly here, we have the upper plate. Now you may have this rubber boot. Simply pop that off, and that's going to expose the shock stud with the nut. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use our 14mm wrench. Now in some cases you can use a socket with an impact gun and try and zip this nut off. Sometimes these stick, so I'm going to use a pair of locking pliers right on the top. Don't grab the threads, but on the top here, and we're going to pinch this. And we're going to use our 14mm wrench to go ahead and loosen this. And we'll go ahead and start to loosen this nut. Remove the nut. We're going to be reusing that. Good. Remove the whole rubber sleeve with the upper bearing plate and discard the old shock. We're going to take the new shock here. And what we're going to do is we're going to simply compress this down so we can go ahead and remove that strap. Remove the cap. And on our particular shock, it does have a replacement nut on it. So we'll use the one that came with it, but if yours does not have that nut, simply reuse the factory nut. Go ahead and take the upper bearing plate, slide this over. Go ahead and thread that down. Now we're simply going to repeat the process that we did to remove it. To install it, we're going to hold the top and then thread that nut down. Now if you have a gear wrench, it'll probably speed things up for you. All right. Go ahead and thread that down until it's good and tight. Install the rubber cap. Let's go ahead and install our new shock. And take your shock unit, work this up in a position. Now that we have both of those started, I'm going to go ahead and snug those down. And once that nut bottoms out, you want to make sure that's good and snug. Go ahead and do the same to the other. I'm going to put our jack back underneath our control arm here, and we're simply going to raise up our suspension until it lines up with the holes. I'm going to go ahead and take our bolt. You can go ahead and grab that shock and bring that down a little bit. And go ahead and get that bolt started. Once you get the bolt started, we're going to go ahead and snug that down. With that snug, we're going to lower our control arm here. We're going to remove our pole jack, torque our lower shock bolt to 91 foot-pounds. Torque the upper nuts to 21 foot-pounds. install your wheel. We want to go ahead and get all of our lug nuts started here. And once we get all these on, we'll go ahead and snug them down. Use your locking key. Torque your lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. We're going to start with our locking key. And then we'll torque the rest in a crisscross pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.